Well, good afternoon, friends. Thank you for joining us today here with Unbreakable Enterprises with another episode of Unbreakable Men. Well, today's guest is going to share with you about some seasons in his life where he probably felt like everything was breaking. And without going into too many details, I want you to consider the feeling of when concrete starts to crumble and it feels like maybe the things you are standing on are cracking beneath you. Well, my friend Siloh is going to share with us his journey, but let me tell you just a little bit about where he's at today. Because, looking back through situations that we face in life, sometimes it's easy to look back and say, okay, I remember that. I see you, I feel you, I sometimes could even smell you. I remember that season and thank God for that season. So, friends, as you're watching today, I want you to think about some of those seasons in your life. But let me tell you a little bit about my friend Siloh Moses. He is an author, a thrill seeker, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropic. Has been in special congressional recognition by the United States Congress and the United States Senate. He is currently in Las Vegas and was awarded the Vegas Top 100 Man of the Year. There are so many things we're going to unpack today, so many places we're going to take you on in his life journey, and I don't want to waste any more time, so let's bring him on the screen. Siloh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Excited to have you with me, my friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Super excited.
Yay, me too. Me too. Okay. All right. Let's start here. So you were telling me just a few moments ago as we were getting on that even today, which we all do this, by the way, but even today you had ran into a moment of stinking thinking and it took you back to a memory moment. And one of the things I like to call them are memorial stones. But Siloh, let's start there. Let's start about, where you're at today, and then we'll go back in time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, today you did a great intro, so thank you so much for that. So yes, I am out in Las Vegas. I have two companies. Well, I have one company, one's an organization. The one company I have does AI business integration. So we do a lot of big problem solving with AI, and then we integrate solutions into the company to just make sure those problems go away and to become more, profitable. The second organization that I have is one that goes out. We give back to those who are less fortunate. We like to call it pay it forward. And we do really huge, massive community events here where we serve maybe 3,000 people in a single day. So, yeah, so it's very cool. That's where I'm at today. Just having a lot of fun and giving back and making business better. That's what I do.
Well, okay, those are two very important things, right? We've got to help the generations around us establish wealth, and we need to pour back into others. And not everybody has that philanthropic spirit. And, but maybe they have a desire to. One of my favorite messages that my pastor and friend says is he says, we all go through three main stages in life. He's like, one stage is the burp me, feed me stage, right? That's where we are learning. You got to take care of me, right? And then there's okay, now I can burp and feed myself. All right, that's our career. That's maybe learning how to raise ourselves, tie our shoes, learn about families. Not quite sure if we're ready for one yet, but right, that's that phase. And then there is, okay, now I can burp and feed others. But you can't mix the order, right? You can't get to stage 3 without going to stage 1 and then to stage 2. We've got to go through this succession. And sometimes it's not as quick as 1, 2, 3. Sometimes there's some valleys and some mountains in there. And I know your story is full of both. Can you take us a little bit on that journey?
Yeah. So I spent some time living here in Las Vegas, homeless for 7 months. I didn't necessarily have a car to sleep in, so I didn't sleep in a car. Didn't have a couch to crash on because no one would lend me their couch, I guess. So ended up spending 7 months homeless here in Las Vegas without a penny to my name, without even a penny in my pocket. And it was a eye-opening, life-learning experience, right?
Sure.
And to go back to what you just said, so let me preference it this way. So when we think of people who are homeless, there is a lot of stigma there, right?
Yeah.
And that stigma essentially says, hey, when you see someone at a corner, at a stoplight, right, and they're wearing clothes that are ripped, they're torn, they're dirty, he's holding his sign, we think one of three things. One, alcoholic. Two, mental issues. Three, drug addiction, right? What we don't ever think about is, what if none of those are true? See, like when I went homeless, I didn't go homeless because I was addicted to drugs. I do zero drugs then, do zero drugs now. I didn't do it because I was addicted to alcohol. I rarely drank then. I drink even less now, right? And I have no mental issues that I'm aware of, right? So I went homeless simply because I was paycheck to paycheck. And on that one Friday, when I was looking for that paycheck where I needed it the most, it never came. That's it.
Wow.
Regular person who looks just like the person that society says they're either on drugs, have mental issues, or an alcoholic. I was none of those. Yeah. But I was treated less than, if you can imagine, right? So one of the lessons here is, part of what we do and why we're able to do such huge events in the city with giving back to 3,000 people at a single time, in a single day, in a single event, is because we don't look at them like society says we need to look at them. We look at them as people who were one paycheck away, who used to be a bus driver, they used to be a teacher, they used to be an accountant, and when they needed that paycheck, it never came. And that's who we serve, right?
Wow. That's powerful. And what a paradigm shift, right? And so I would love for you, number one, I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'm sure that part of your heart for that is the walking through those muddy waters on your own, right? They always say, or I always say, I don't know who they is, but I always say that purpose is usually attached to one of three things. It's either attached to pleasure. Isn't that fun? Not very often, though. It's attached to pain, because those are the two things that are going to motivate us, right? Yeah. But it's always attached to people. And when you can find your people, you find your purpose. And I think it's absolutely beautiful that you have been given this heart to serve people in a place where you found yourself. So Siloh, would you tell us a little bit about how you found, what did that 7-month time period look like? And how did you get from there to getting awarded with a Congressional Medal of Honor, to becoming one of the top 100 most influential? This is incredible. And imagine, out of the 3,000 people, is it 3,000 a year? Or tell me about that. How frequently are you doing these events?
Yeah, so our largest event is around the holidays. We'll do a large event around Thanksgiving. We'll do another large event around Christmas. And those are the days where we'll do about 3,000 people per day. And we serve them with fresh food, clothing, hygiene, haircuts, hugs, love, you name it. Outside of the holidays, we do a weekly serving. And that weekly serving is we'll do maybe roughly around 500 to 800 people a week.
So imagine, for you, you found yourself in this place, and we'll hear more about your story about how you received your welcome out of it, right? But imagine with the work you were doing, if just 1% of the people you served were able to turn around and pay it forward the way you are. What difference would this world look like at that point?
Yeah, that's the best part. The best part is the serving is great. Don't get me wrong. What's really great is after you serve them for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then eventually that switch goes off in their head and they make that switch and they come back the following week and they're serving on the other side of the table, not being served.
Wow. They've reached the third stage.
Yes. And that's usually when they're ready. When they're ready, that's when we jump all over them. Okay, cool. Now we're going to go and help you get a job. Now we're going to help you find housing. Now, up to that point, we just serve them until they're ready.
Wow. What a great heart you have. Okay. So tell us about this journey that you went on.
Yeah. So Again, I was working paycheck to paycheck, doing everything I was supposed to be doing. At that time, I had just had my son, and he was just a few months old. And, no one can tell you how expensive kids are. I thought I was prepared. I was not at all. And I was already kind of keeping my head and treading above water before he was born. After he was born, that was it. I was done for. And so the paychecks that I needed, I desperately needed them because I was already 60 days behind on the car payment, 30 days behind on the rent, right? The utilities weren't being paid. So when that check didn't come, it just completely devastated me, right? Demolished, done.
Yeah.
So with nothing left, it was just a matter of days before they came and picked up the car, right? Repoed it. I gave the car and I gave my son to his mom at that point. And I said, leave me. I have nothing left. I am no good for you. I can do nothing for you. You're better off on your own. Right. And that's what she did. She left. She went back to her hometown, her home state, which I would have done the same if it was reversed. Right. I mean, I would have stayed there and stuck it out with her, of course, but, I can't blame her for what she did because, like I said, I gave her permission to leave because there was nothing I could have done for her at that point. That day she left was day one of homelessness. And that was it. I had nowhere to go. I had no address. I had nowhere to go. So I just walked. And I walked and walked and walked and walked. That's it. Until I found a safe place where I can fall asleep behind a dumpster where no one will bother me and I'm out of sight. And that was the first night of going homeless. Right. So we fast forward through some of this and, it's some of them we can get into the weeds, right? And we can really get granular. But for the sake of time, let's fast forward a little bit. Okay. So it's about 6 months in now. I'm 7 months homeless, right? Total time, 6 months in. I get a guy that comes into my life at this point, 6 months in. I'm wearing the same shirt I was wearing on my back 6 months ago. I'm wearing the same pair of pants I was wearing 6 months ago when I got kicked out of my apartment. I'm wearing the same socks and shoes. Beard is completely blown out. Hair is all over the place, right? I'm pretty sure I look exactly the way I smelled. No shower for 6 months. And a guy steps into my life out of nowhere and came around and just would not leave. Now, at this time, I was hanging out at a 7-Eleven. And ironically, I would stand by the garbage can because I expected that's where everyone, expected me to stand, right? And plus, I wanted to be away from people because I don't want to scare anyone. I don't want the management to come out and go, hey, you can't stand here. You got to go. So I was kind of off to the side. And I hung out at this 7-Eleven because I learned something really quickly. I learned that people who drive sports cars and sports cars are really low to the ground, when they get out of them and they've got change in their pocket, guess where that change goes? Ding, 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 ding. It all starts to hit the ground, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Now, these guys in their sports cars wouldn't even think about bending over and picking up that nickel, but I will. And I did, right?
Wow.
So I would hang out there all day and just wait for it. Ding, 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 ding. And I'd run around the back of their car and pick up all that change, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So this guy who stepped into my life at that time when I was hanging out at that 7-Eleven, just kind of scooping up change from rich people or whoever, getting out of their cars, their sports cars, who refuse to bend down and pick up a nickel. And he would come over and he would just start talking to me. And I was like, get away from me. What are you doing here? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. Remind you, I went 6 months, nearly 7, where no one in the world said my name.
Wow.
Right? No, I didn't hear my name called for 7 months.
Wow.
Right. So this guy walks out to me and says, hey, what's up, buddy? I'm like, who are you? Get away from me. What's wrong with you? Like, first of all, I was impressed he even saw me because, by this point, people are pretending like I don't exist. They're not even looking in my direction, which felt like walking around like a ghost, right? You're unseen. So for him to walk up and be like, hey, buddy, what's going on? I was like, whoa, who's this? Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you, get away from me, right? I probably sound like that crazy kind of guy. Get away from me. I don't want anything, get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah. But he was persistent and he kept coming around every single day. Now it's really cool now that I look back on it now, is that he never came around and like gave me $1. As a matter of fact, he never gave me anything monetarily. When he came around, he would just come around and give me a shoulder and an ear to complain to. That was it. Every once in a while, he'd buy me a sandwich, he'd buy me something to eat, but he never gave me money, which is why my organization today does nothing with money. We don't give anyone any money, right? We'll give you food, we'll give you clothing, we'll give you a haircut, right? We'll give you a hug. We'll be that shoulder you can cry on and an ear that you need to talk to you when you need to vent, but we won't give you any money.
Yeah.
We just don't do that, right? As someone who's less fortunate currently today. And that principle comes from the guy who helped me. So he helped me, and he basically had an office space, and we were talking about this right prior to. He had an office space that he had, which is like 10 by 12, no windows, just a small room. There's probably people listening to this right now have a bigger closet than this space I slept in. And and that was the beginning of me getting back on my feet. He just basically said, hey, listen, I've got this small office. I rented it. I prepaid it for like the next, month. He's like, I'm not paying it next month. So if they come and give me an invoice, I'm not paying it. Like, the business dissolved. My partner went his own way. I went my own way. And he goes, but it's sitting empty and I got a key to it. And he's like, if you want it, I'll give you the key. Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously I took it, right? Because to me, it wasn't a key. It was an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a statement.
Yeah. And that was me essentially now kicking the ball to get it rolling, to get back on my feet again. All I needed was a roof over my head, 4 walls, a door that I can lock and unlock at any time. I'm no longer sleeping behind dumpsters. I'm no longer sleeping with one eye open, waiting for someone to attack me for my shoelaces and my shoes, right? I finally had peace, and that peace allowed me to finally now put the pieces in place to get back on my feet.
Wow. That whole story is huge, right? And I look at the story through the lens of your explanation, and I look at your name, and I don't know if you've done the research on your name, but it's a pretty powerful name. And I think we need to do that. In fact, I'm gonna do it right now. Actually, give me 1 second, because this is powerful. Just Moses alone, before he was used for his greatest mission, he ran off into the wilderness, and he didn't stop. He was out there for a long time. And then he was told, now you have a job, right? And so that's part 1. And I'm going to go into your name here in a second. But part 2, which I think is so incredibly important, is money is a tool. But what people hunger for the most are 3 things that money has nothing to do with it. And number 1 is to be seen. Yep. Number 2 is to be heard. And number 3 is to be valued, right? And that gentleman that showed up, and I have to ask, are you still in connection with him, or was he just a visiting angel?
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Tell us about that. I'm going to look up your name, but tell us about that.
Yeah. So, and I wrote a book too about my story. So it's on Amazon. So, and he's in there too. So whoever wants to, they can go to Amazon and get my book. Right. So, and the preference that is my book that I wrote that's on Amazon is essentially a diary that I kept while I was homeless. So as you read through it, you're going to go through my entire experience, and you're going to feel every moment. That's for sure. Right. In deep detail. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely the power of getting to write a story.
Yeah. So he and I, it's funny. So I eventually got out of that office. I eventually got kicked out of that office, but luckily I had met someone who was renting out a room in his apartment, and I was super, super desperate. I didn't want to go back to the streets. And I went to him and I said, hey, listen, Eric, his name was Eric. He picked me up, and he would drive me to, we didn't even get to this part yet, but he would drive me to job interviews, and he would drive me to go look at people who had a room for rent. And I went on 79 interviews before someone said yes. I've heard 79 ways you could tell someone no before one person said, I'll give you a shot. Right. The same thing happened when I was looking for a room to stay at. I would go, I would plead my case. I'd be like, listen, I've been homeless. I just need a place. Like, I'm finally getting back on my feet. And they're like, no, not happening. No. Yeah. So I was like 14 homes that I went to. I pleaded my case to the owner. And on the 15th time, the person said, okay, I'll give you a shot. And he gave me the room without paying no deposit, no rent up front. And he basically was like, I'm just going to believe you. Like, and yes, he probably had a huge heart too, which had something to do with it. And Eric and I, as soon as I got that place and I got kicked out of the office, now I have a room for rent. Eric and I went straight to business. And it's funny because Eric was like really, really great at small engines. And he knew he would just listen. He was like this kind of mad genius. Like if you turn a car on, you'd be like, yep, it's this. You're like, I just turned a car on. How do you know that? I didn't even tell you what the issue is. Yeah, he would just know. And he was really great at small engine repair. So at this time, mopeds in Las Vegas started to take off where everyone had a moped, right? At least everyone who didn't have a license because it didn't require a license to have one. So they were everywhere. So Eric and I had this idea. I was like, hey, listen, why don't we go on to Craigslist? Let's look for like broken down mopeds. You're a mad genius when it comes to engines. You can fix them up right away and we can flip them and make a profit. And we went into business with each other. Yeah, we killed it. We must have sold like 100 mopeds that summer.
Wow. Oh my God.
I had money for rent, and then I had money for this, and and that's where it started to take off. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna read you this. So number one, and I think this is so cool because you used a very specific word when you talked about getting into a place to sleep. When you got that office, what word did you say that gave you the specific feeling? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was opportunity.
Nope, more than that, it was peace. But yes, opportunity for sure, right? But you had the peace. And so listen to this. Siloh, Hebrew origin, Old Testament, common meanings include tranquil or peaceful.
Nice.
Isn't that cool? It conveys deep peace, rest, sanctuary. Oh my God, right? Echoing its biblical site as the place of the ark. Let's see. It symbolizes divine sending, purpose, and spiritual calling.
Nice. I believe it.
And yes. Moses represents rescue, divine protection, maturity of purpose, and prophetic potential through the water drawing miracle. And so let me tell you, combining these two together, the prophetic declaration, one who emerges from the depths to bring sanctuary and peace, a divinely appointed deliverer whose presence calms nations and shapes destiny.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm so all of those things too. I'm not even exaggerating. My friends say you're unshakable, Siloh. Like whatever we put you in, you never shake. And it's just because I'm so at peace with myself. It's very hard to get me to like react or put me in a situation where I'm not comfortable because I'm so at peace with myself. Yeah. And they're like, so all of that totally makes sense to me, 100%. Yeah. And of course, with the servings that we're doing, right, and the path and the journey that it took me to get there, like I totally get it.
Yeah, and sometimes our names are given to us, one prophetically to speak something into us, but also to remind us of who we are in those tough seasons. But if we don't know it when we're going through tough seasons in life, we may not appreciate the journey. But you talked about how that journey has brought amazing things for you and potentially how you are who you are today because of that journey. So tell us, okay, so from moped business, and to now, are you still working with Eric or what's going on with that?
Now, after that, we kind of went our own ways, still, greatest of friends, right? But as far as business, we kind of like did our own thing, right? Right. And I think at that time he knew. He was just like, all right, like Siloh's good. Like, I don't need to look over his shoulder anymore. Right. Like he's good. Right. And yeah, so he came into my life exactly at the point where I needed him. He's still there today. But when he came in as that person who is as I look back on it now, my guiding light, my angel, you can call him whatever you want, right? He was the one. He was the one to make all of this, what I'm doing today, possible.
Isn't that incredible? The power of one. I just had to look up Eric, and Eric is one who carries eternal fire of leadership within. His essence is marked by steadiness, honor, and the power to chart paths for the unknown lands. He is not just a ruler of circumstances, but a steward of destiny, guiding others through the light of conviction and calm authority.
Nice.
I don't know if that's to him, but wow.
Yeah. And you know, I owe so much to him, and it's crazy because, all right, so I'm having a moment, so give me a moment. Hold on a second.
Take care.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because, all right, so my organization, just so you know, I started it with a single pot of spaghetti. I went out into the homeless corridor. I stood on a sidewalk and served 30 people who were homeless at that time on a single pot of spaghetti.
Wow.
I went home and I told somebody what I did. The following Monday, when I went to serve, they came with me. They went home, told somebody what we did. Following Monday, brought somebody back with them, and we just started to grow.
Wow.
And up to this point, we've have 800 full-time volunteers. If I was to pick up a phone right now and say, hey, in the next 5 minutes, we're going to go serve, they would show up.
Wow.
And we're now doing events where we're serving 3,000 people in a single day.
Wow.
Can you imagine the impact that, yes, we have on these people, but the impact that never would have been there if Eric never said hello to me?
Yeah. I you know, we all have a very specific purpose. And when your job isn't done, somebody else can't live up to their full potential, because it takes all of us being willing, just being willing. And I think that was him, being willing. And maybe even a little bold and a little bit, ambitious maybe, but also, I think back at those 3 stages of life. That third stage is that desire that we all have. Tony Robbins talks about this when he talks about the 6 basic needs that we have. And within each of us, there is a need for contribution. And in each of us, there's a need for significance. There's a need for safety and security, love and belonging, and a need for security, and a need also for variety. Like, there's all these amazing needs. Mm-hmm. And when one is not fulfilled, we find unhealthy ways to deal with it. But in each of us, there's this desire to contribute and to feel significant. And Eric's desire was right on point that day. And because he stepped into that desire in a healthy way, look where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, the ripple effects are insane, for everyone, right? So Eric impacted me. Now I have an organization that served over 174,000 meals in the community for free. And now those meals have impacted someone else, and they've gone on positively impacted someone else. So the ripple effects are, well beyond what I could see. Right. Yeah. And it all started with Eric. Right. So today, when we go out and we serve, I'm now blessed to be Eric, because now I'm out there serving, looking for the next Siloh.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
I'm like, okay, cool. Like, who do we got to serve today so I can find the next Siloh?
Yeah.
Right. So that they can make their impact and go serve 400,000 people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to be everything, but when we can be who we were created to be, when you go back to your name, Siloh Moses, and you become exactly who you were created to be, the impact that you make on this world is solid. But, there's so many people that I feel like they don't know who they are. And maybe nobody has shown them. Nobody has even seen them, just like you felt. You talk about being homeless and people like ignoring but you don't have to be homeless to be ignored.
Right. Right.
And to feel unseen.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. Right. So, I mean, I would say that, for those people, and I'm just going to bring it right back to homelessness, right? And who we serve, not essentially my story. So I get a lot of people who are looking for meaning. They're looking for purpose. They're looking to be seen, right? And they come to us and they say, how do we, when I see someone at a street corner, what do I do? Like, what if I don't have any water in my car? What if I don't have $1 to give them? Which, again, we don't do anything with money, but they still ask, right? They go, what do I do? I go, why don't you wave? And just let them know that they're seen.
Yeah.
That you saw them.
Yeah.
Right? If you're really feeling daring, roll down your window and say, hi, how's your day?
Yeah.
Because it could be that wave. It could be that hello that completely changes them. Right?
Yeah.
And that's a great way for the person who's doing the wave and the person who rolled down their window to take the time while they're sitting at a stoplight for the next 20 seconds to say hi. That's a great way for them to get that too, to feel seen, to feel like they have purpose, right? And to feel like they're making a great impact in someone's life. And it doesn't take money. It doesn't take a bottle of water. It doesn't take, being prepared. All you have to simply do, which is free, is a wave or say hello.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for to be seen, or you're looking for purpose, or you're just looking for, something to give you inspiration, the next time you run across someone who's less fortunate, look at them like their first name is Siloh and wave.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the work you are doing is absolutely incredible. And I know you must feel super rewarded to be able to do this, because they don't always talk about that, right? Is that the real reward is knowing that your need for significance and contribution is making an impact in this world. It's not really for us. It's to know that we're doing what we were created to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great too, because when you serve correctly, it comes back to you whether you want it to or not, right? It just and I say serve correctly, because when you go and you serve, again, even if it's just waving hello or rolling down your window and saying hi, you don't necessarily have to be out physically serving like we do. Sure. If you do that and you do it from a great place where you're looking for absolutely zero in return, you're going to get 100 back. And that 100 back is the feeling of purpose, inspiration, motivation, the stuff you can't put $1 on, right? And so I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for it and you want to go serve, you want to say hello, you want to wave, do it from a place where you're not expecting anything in return. Because when you do it, in my opinion, you're doing it the wrong way, because it's not necessarily a gift if you expect it back. Sure. It's only a gift if you give it without the exception of wanting it back.
Yeah.
And that's what a gift is. It's a hello and a wave.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And sometimes somebody wants to give and they want to serve and they don't, they're not that place yet, just start, right? Because whether we feel like we're doing it the right way or the not right way, I think it's almost, you talked a little bit about addiction earlier when you said that a lot of times people that become in that route, people think that it's from addiction. But oxytocin is also an addicting thing, right? And so when you give to somebody and you create that beautiful, hormone feel good feeling in your body, that becomes a beautiful addiction that will cause you to want to do more and give more for others. And I'm sure that you probably are full of that, like all the time, right?
Yeah. There's nothing better than giving and expecting nothing in return. It's just, it's amazing, right? It's so fulfilling. Yeah. Right? It'll fill you up more than the largest meal you can eat. It's so fulfilling.
That's incredible. So how long has your organization been around now?
So for the Give It Back organization, we've been around 8 years. So we've been, we're really blessed. I mean, we've taken, again, on a street corner with a pot of spaghetti, served 30, to now being a give back organization that's teamed up with Coca-Cola. We've teamed up with Walmart. We've teamed up with Starbucks, Einstein Bagels. All of these guys are our corporate partners and sponsors. And again, I'm a guy who's eating out of trash cans. And they teamed up with me. It's crazy. Right? And we're completely blessed to have them as partners. Right? So 8 years in, completely, like, we absolutely love what we're doing. We do from not just servings now. We did a give, and I believe this video is on YouTube. We did a give where we sponsored an entire elementary school. And the elementary school was a tier 1 school, which is basically a school for those who are less fortunate kids. And we sponsored the entire school, which was close to 950 kids, elementary, it was kindergarten through 8th grade. So, and with those students, we gifted them backpacks. Not only were they backpacks, we gifted them backpacks that were stuffed with pencils, paper, glue, scissor, tape, you name it. Everything that they needed to succeed that year in school, they got. Not only did we raise one enough backpack for every single kid, which is 950, we actually over-raised, and we raised 1,200 backpacks.
Wow.
Stuffed, right? We just adopted the whole school. And the way that came to us was the principal of the school reached out to me and said, hey, we've got some kids who we know that are less fortunate who are sleeping in their cars with their parents. Yeah. And I said, okay, tell me more about these kids. They said they're really exceptional kids. And I said, how do you know that? They said, because even though they're in dire straits, sleeping in the cars and doing their homework in cars, they're getting straight A's.
Wow.
And I said, okay, that's all I need to hear. And I was like, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this give the right way. I'm not just going to give these kids backpacks because that's going to make them stand out in school and they'll probably get bullied. So I said, instead, we're going to mask this give for these kids by giving every single kid in school a backpack too.
Yeah. That's
so no one knows who's sleeping in a car.
Yeah. That's really, really generous and very kind. And it feels like they get to be part of everybody else, where many times they probably felt like an outsider. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. So I would love to know, you mentioned that when people start serving and they start, giving back, that you help them with jobs and things like that. What extent does your organization go through? Do y'all do anything around financial literacy? Do you do anything in those types of realms?
Yeah, very easy question. We do food, clothing, and hygiene.
Okay. Good. Basic essentials.
The reason we do that is because I know, as the leader of the organization, what we're very good at. Yeah. And I'm not going to pretend to be good at anything else.
Sure.
So when we have people that come to us, and yes, they need job placement, they need help with their resume, help with getting a birth certificate, social security card all over again, they need housing, maybe even treatment. That's when I then refer them out to our partners who only do that, and they're very good at what they do.
Perfect.
Right. And that's where the partnerships come. It's kind of a little crazy to me, because when I first started getting into giving back, I found that a lot of nonprofits don't like to talk to each other, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
Especially if they do the same thing. They're almost they almost don't even like each other at all. You put them both in the same room, they're on the opposite sides of the room.
And kind of scarcity thinking.
Yeah. My thinking was, well, I don't want to go and open up a center to help someone who's dealing with, alcohol challenges, but you're the best at doing that. So we should partner up. I'll just bring them to you and you take care of them, right? You help them get on your feet, because I'm not going to go open up an addiction center pretending like I'm the best at addiction. I'm not. I'm really good at food, clothing, and hygiene, bringing all these people together in one place, showing them that they care, showing them that they do exist, and then getting them to the point where they're ready to admit they need help.
Yeah.
And then once they need help, then I can transfer them to someone who can help them.
Yeah.
And that's how we're able to get people. Yeah.
I think that goes back to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If your number one need right now, which is all of our baseline need, is shelter and food, you don't care about financial literacy or, XYZ or legacy planning, right? You don't care about any of that. You're trying to literally get food in your bodies, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we found. We found that it was almost impossible for us to have a conversation with someone when they're hungry.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, cool. Once we put a clean shirt on your back, once your stomach is full, we've realized now we can have a real conversation.
Yeah, that's incredible. I would love to know, what you were feeling that night that you decided to make that pot of spaghetti.
Oh, yeah. Great question. I went and served that first pot of spaghetti because I felt it was my duty to go back and pay homage to where I just came from.
What was the time disconnect?
Between getting on my feet and serving that first pot of spaghetti?
Yeah.
It was like a week.
What?
Yeah. I went right back into it. Yeah. I went right back into it. I went right back into homelessness again. But this time I went in as someone who's serving.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. How rewarded did you feel?
It's funny because I served that first pot. I served that first pot of spaghetti and I got pissed. Didn't really tell you why.
Yeah.
I got pissed because I had a pot of spaghetti that served 30 people, but there was 40 in line.
Oh.
And so I was pissed. Like I somehow should have known to bring enough to serve 40. Like I had no idea. Right. But it pissed me off so bad that the next time I went back with 2 pots of spaghetti. And this time I served the whole line.
Wow.
Right. And then I just kept going back. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, to answer your question, I was pissed.
The things that propel us are sometimes pleasure, mostly pain. It was painful to walk away from that and not have enough. And I'm sure that, it reminds me of that movie. Oh gosh, what was that movie called? Hacksaw. Did you see that movie? Hacksaw Ridge? Yeah.
No.
So Hacksaw Ridge was a movie, I think it was from World War II. And this gentleman, they were in the middle of this place called Hacksaw Ridge. And he just felt in his spirit, he's like, I've got to go save one more. And literally he had to climb up this ravine and carry these soldiers on his back that had limbs removed and all kinds of things in the middle of war, like they are under attack. And he just kept hearing that mantra in his head, just one more, just one more. And I think he saved like 40 people on this one particular night. And it was just, telling ourselves, and I think you just said it best, I've got to have enough. I've got to have it, because you know what it feels like to not have enough.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a great journey. Like I said, looking back, it's been a great journey. Yeah. So going through it kind of sucked, but looking back at it, it's a great journey.
Yeah. So tell us, if you would, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, even in the middle of doing great things, even in the middle of being so intentional with purpose, having a business, doing these things, we still have life, right? I think you said it earlier, life is lifing or something like that. Did you say that, or was that a different call? I think you said it. But sometimes life just lifes, right? And things happen even in the middle of, we're like, but this is my season. And we still get hit with a storm sometimes in the middle of it. And you told me about a flashback moment that you had earlier. Will you tell our audience about that?
Yeah. So, and I laugh because these are really great memories and flashbacks for me today, right? And I truly appreciate them. I truly, truly appreciate them, right? So this morning I woke up and we were talking about this. Even today, with everything that we do and the impact that we're making, both like giving back into or paying it forward inside our community, outside of our community, we've even branched out and started helping organizations in Florida. We help another organization in UK with their homeless issue. So like ripple effects, right? And everything that we've done, you mentioned the accolades earlier before, which are all huge blessings. Love those as well. Even today, give back organization, I got a thriving business. I still get doubt that creeps up. I still get those conversations that creep up and they're like, who are you to think you can go do this? You used to eat out of garbage cans. Like that stuff is still there. So no matter what the accomplishments are or the levels of which I achieve, it's there. And so I become very aware at catching them the second they start to creep in. Yeah. So this morning in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, doing my thing, thought thought starts to creep up. I go, oh, that's interesting. Where is that coming from? What is that over there? Right. And the thought was like self-doubt. And I was like, we're not going to do that today. And the reason I was able to squash it completely was, and I'll go into the story if you want me to, right? The one I told you. Okay. So going back into the office where I was sleeping, I was in there, and again, 6-7 months now, homeless, smelled like, I smelled, right? And wearing the same shirt, the same jeans, same socks, the same shoes for 7 months, right? Every single day. I had a pair of socks, and those pair of socks I had worn on the very same day that I got kicked out of my apartment 7 months ago. At this time, these socks are disintegrating. They are smelly. They're just really, really disgusting. And the only reason I continued to wear them every day is because putting on socks still made me feel human. Right. So I would put it on just so I could feel like a human being, even though they were just atrocious. They were just disgusting. Now these socks, I wore them every single day, and socks, which I didn't know, if you wear them every single day for 7 months, they start to really become hard and stiff like concrete. They're no longer flexible. It's like it's no longer a sock. It's almost like putting on a concrete boot. And it was just from all the dirt, and it was just horrendous. Now, the socks were so bad that when I put on a shoe and tied my shoe up, you could still smell the stench coming out from my feet from underneath the shoe. Like the shoes did not cover the stench. The smell was so horrific that I can still almost smell it today. Yeah. So this morning, I'm brushing my teeth. The thought comes up, right, of doubt. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Where is that coming from? And it almost crept in. The reason it didn't creep in is because I stopped it and I put myself right back into that office space. And I thought about those socks. And I was like, not today, thought, not today.
Yeah,
right?
That's incredible. It's so powerful, Siloh, the meaning that we give our thoughts, because the same thought that was trying to get into your head that was saying, who are you? Don't you remember that you were homeless? Don't you remember who are you? Mm-hmm. Is the same result, right? Was the reminder of where you were. It was just a paradigm shift. And we have that power. And I don't know how many thousands of people that are going to watch this video are going to be struggling with this thought. And all they have to do is have a mind shift, and it becomes this whole new meaning. Instead of it being that memory that held you back, that feeds into that limiting belief, it now becomes this I'm thinking about this, my friend. This concrete sock, right, is now the foundation on which you stand. Nice. What power do you give your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Well, I am blown away by your story, and so incredibly grateful to get to see you smiling from this side. I am grateful for Eric. So grateful for Eric that he saw you and that he was bold enough to come to you and to say hello and to help you be seen. Yeah. And because of his obedience to that call that he felt in his spirit in that moment, you're changing the world, like one meal at a time. And that is huge, my friend.
Yes. Just living the purpose. That's all it is. Right. So, and living a life that's fulfilling. Yeah. And whether that's on the side of the table where we're serving someone who's less fortunate, even in business today, we still look at ourselves as a company that serves businesses. We don't take from business, we give to business. Right. Yeah. And so we take the same philosophies from serving on a street corner to serving, a CEO of a nice sized company. We go, we're here to serve you. What do you need?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And So it's good. It's really good. Yeah. I do want to say one thing. I want to say for those who have those thoughts that creep up, right? the reason I'm able to look back on those socks is because I have a deep appreciation for that moment. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be times in your life where those thoughts will creep up, and you got to anchor yourself somewhere in a moment in time where maybe something that wasn't so great happened to you. But here's the thing, you can look at it one of two ways. One way is, this thing happened, it wasn't my fault. Or you can look at it like, this thing happened, I appreciated it happen, I will learn from it, and I will move forward. And when you're able to say, I appreciate that happened, whether it's your fault or your own, it doesn't matter. It happened, right? And someone needs to take power over that. And why not let that power be yours? Why don't you take control of that, right? Yeah. So when you're able to say, that happened, I appreciate that happened, I will learn from it and grow from it. Now you can look back on that with appreciation, right? And that appreciation will help you through all those thoughts that come up in the future, because they don't go away. They don't go away. Top 100 Man of the Year, 4 years in a row. Congressional recognition for United States Congress, right? I got Hometown Hero in Las Vegas award twice, 2 years in a row. Hometown Hero. All of Las Vegas said Siloh's amazing. I still get these thoughts. Yeah. They don't go away, right? So the only way to control them or to squash them is to look back on appreciation of what you've been through, right? Not the opposite.
That's so good. Thank you for sharing some of your time with us today, and for sharing hope. You know, I feel like somebody might be watching this that's absolutely struggling, or somebody might be watching this and thinking, what is the point? What can I do? And you just showed it with great excellence and clarity, and literally a roadmap of the significance and the power of one. So thank you for being that in this world. And thank you for continuing to see people.
Thank you. A pleasure. Always.
Yeah. Well, we will talk soon, Siloh. Thank you for joining. Oh, before we go, please tell us how they can find you. Somebody says, I want to donate, I want to support, I want to do whatever. How can they find you?
Yeah, I'm all on socials. Obviously, it's Siloh Moses, Siloh, and then Moses. That's pretty simple. If you guys want to check out some of the stuff that we've done, you can go to YouTube, search Siloh Moses. A bunch of our videos will pop up of gives that we've done. If you want to get my book on Amazon, it's called Better Than This. Search Better Than This in Amazon. You can get it. It's under my pen name. And my pen name is just Siloh Moses backwards. So pen name, yes, it's just Siloh Moses backwards. So feel free to reach out to me too on socials. Especially if it's all about giving. Yeah, reach me up. Got a lot of nonprofits that hit me up and they're like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I want to go out and start a nonprofit. I'm always available for those conversations for free. I do not charge for those. So it's just my way of helping you make your impact. So if you're looking to start a nonprofit or do something like that, reach out to me. If you have a business and you're looking to integrate AI into your business to help you more efficient and make a little bit more money, feel free to reach out to me. That I do charge for. So let's not get it twisted. Okay. but feel free to reach out to me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, so awesome. Well, Siloh, thank you again. I hope and pray that that people do reach out to you, because what you're doing is world changing. Thank you for being a light in this world. God bless you, friend.
Thank you. Thank you.